starting Friday evening, and all day Saturday in Belle Isle, people crowding there and making this a celebration. Some of us were there at Belle Isle this morning at 6 a.m. sunrise service. And sure enough, the sun did rise. The songs and the prayers, and especially, I think of Melvin Ward, who prayerfully and joyfully and soulfully tore up, lift up your voice. And for that experience that some of us come this morning to this celebration. And remember that that is the story of the Black family. That is the story of all families. To hand on the tradition, to carry on the values, and to run in the race, and to hand it over, and to tell those who are coming behind the story. That's our responsibility. Everybody, anyone who's older than anyone else, has to hand the story on to somebody younger. So all you young people here, there's somebody younger than you. You've got to tell them the story. You've got to tell them the story of how a people have not only survived, but have grown and developed. That great story of queens and kings in Africa. The great story of men and women who brought a people to life. That story in our own country of people who never gave up, of people who endured all hardship, and in that strength gave life to others. Got to tell that story of why that happened. It didn't happen by accident. It happened because people believed in life. It's because people had values. Values are things that we think are important. And they handed those values down. The values of what a family is. The value of generosity, of unselfishness, of doggedness. The values that people treasured, and they kept telling that story. Over the years, that story's been handed down. People have been running in the race and handing the baton on. Somehow today we see kind of a breakdown. I don't know if that happened before in history, but today we see a breakdown in that story, that tradition. We see a breakdown in the family. And somehow the story's not being told. And for some reason the story is getting all mixed up. And the story of how people fought to go to school. People marched and demonstrated and took all kinds of abuse to go to school. And the story gets mixed up, and now students are dropping out of school. They're not taking it seriously. And all the blood and tears that went into that. Somehow, the sacrifices that were made by people like Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all the others is being forgotten. The things that they not only lived for, but died for. Somehow the story is set aside. People who did so much to bring us where we are, and all the blood that was spilled. We've got to pick that up. We've got to tell that story. These are the things that we value. These are the things that we set aside. These are things that are wrong. These are not the things we hand on. We are not a violent people. We have not been selfish with each other. We set those aside. That's not part of the story. And we pick it up. Jesus said in the gospel today, he asked his disciples, he said, who are people saying that I am? And they said, well, some think that you're John the Baptist. Jesus said, who? Well, some think you're Elijah, because remember Elijah went up to heaven in a fiery chariot, and the scripture tells us he's coming back at the time of the Messiah. They think I'm Elijah. Well, some think you're Jeremiah, great prophet. And some think you're just a great prophet. Jesus was kind of disappointed. He said, well, who do you say that I am? Peter said, you are the Messiah. You are the Son of the living God. And Jesus brightened up. And Jesus smiled. He was so happy to hear that. Then go out and tell everyone this. Tell them. That's the story. You tell them. No one else is going to do it. Some are going to talk about John the Baptist and Elijah and Jeremiah and the prophets, but you know who I am, and it's up to you to tell the story. We can't wait for anyone else to tell the story. To our young people and to ourselves and to our communities and to our families. We have to tell the story. Teachers have to tell their students the story. Parents have to tell their children. Children have to tell each other. Brothers and sisters have to tell one another. We have to tell one another. No one else is going to do it. That's what Jesus is talking about. No one else is going to tell the story. You got to go and you got to tell the story, otherwise they'll never hear it. We got to tell the story. We've got to tell the story of who we are, where we came from, where we're going and how to get there. We've got to pass on those cherished traditions. Those traditions of faith, of hope, of love. We've got to hand it on. We can't let the progress that has been made slip away. Sometimes in those relay races, somebody stumbles, falls. They always get up and they keep on running. And sometimes as they pass the baton, it drops, but somebody picks it up. And somehow in our communities today, we've stumbled. We haven't told the story. The beautiful story of the things that we treasure the most about ourselves. And sometimes when we passed it on, it hasn't been picked up. But somehow we who are here today, somehow if we stumble or not pass the story on, we got to pick it up. And we've got to run as fast as we can. And we've got to give it to others. And someday we'll be gone. All of us are going to die. But the story will never die. Because we've passed it on to someone. And they'll carry it on. And they'll give it to someone else. And you see, we all live forever. And the story never dies. Let us stand and pray.